Good morning. So there's some questions about how do we know that Mary's in heaven? And what is this teaching of a dogma? Okay, let's see. Yes, it's a mystery. And I agree. How do we know? How does this come to a teaching in the church when it comes to a dogma in the church? Well, I haven't really looked into kind of like a textbook response. How I'm going to respond to it is more like an act of faith. It's just like, how do we know the existence of God? So I'm going to place that question in the same context. How do we know that Mary is in heaven? How do we have these doctrines, and how do we have these dogmas being presented to the church as a teaching, magisterial teaching? How does this come to a reality? Those are questions that are very serious. And when it comes to an act of faith, it takes a reality course. And that reality course is the condition of meeting the question. So when you request an answer to this question, I'm going to listen to at the stage of which you are seeking an answer. For me, that question isn't in me because there's an act of faith. Sometimes there's a question that comes out and saying it's incredulous, like when you ask, how do you know? And then there's another way of asking where, how did you know about that? Where, like, I believe it too, but I'm not sure how to explain it. and then there's the other kind where, how do you know? So it's how you ask. Okay, so I'm gonna say that I'm in this section where I'd really like to write out an answer, just like Thomas Aquinas. He would ask a question, he would try to answer it. So I'm gonna be in the section where I'm asking at a level of relationship with the church, and this relationship is a knowledge that Mary is our mother who carried baby Jesus. Her body carried the incarnate God. They're saying that what happened was she fell asleep in a dormant state, and when the apostles went to look for her, her body wasn't there anymore. She practically just disappeared. She stayed in a dormant state. It's not like Carlo Acutis, where his body is still here on earth. Carlo Acutis is sleeping also, but his body isn't incorrupt. His body's incorrupt. There's no corruption showing. It's not the same. With Mary, she was in a dormant state and disappeared. The apostles couldn't find her body anymore. And it's not like someone stole it, like the resurrection. You know how some of the arguments saying that someone stole Jesus' body from the tomb and that's why his body's not there. And then suddenly he appears and starts talking to the apostles and eats baked fish with them. So there's these aspects of dogma where I'm trying to hear at what level you're asking the question. So when I hear it, I'm going to hear it and I'm going to ask the question too. But when I ask the question, it's because I'm searching and I'm going to write a dissertation and I'm going to do it like Thomas Aquinas and try to, and I'm going to hear your question and it's not going to be so dissertation and doctor. It's going to be like, I believe it too. I want to know. I'm going to look it up on the Catechism of the Catholic Church and go to the library and see what, how the church made this teaching. And then there's another person who says, it kind of makes sense if her body carries the Son of God. Wouldn't God want her body up in heaven right away? So that person just used a bit of it kind of makes sense. That's reality. That God would want his mother up there with him as soon as she was ready. And then there's the other one where I don't even believe there's a heaven. Because everything that happens to women here is so evil. So how can anything go to heaven if all the women here are always hurt and abused and raped and people making words like abortion on demand and killing their uterus and tearing it all up with those knives? Those are practically knives. I wouldn't call those health procedures of tools. Do you hear what I'm saying? And then Meryl comes in and says, there's a woman whose uterus was blessed away from all of that evil. And her uterus carried the incarnate God. It's an organ in every woman to have a uterus. And her body, with this organ, went straight to heaven.